From the Arizona Daily Star and Tucson.com, this is the Wildcast.
You're listening to the Wildcast podcast. I'm Justin Spears, here with Michael Lev. It's officially Territorial Cup Week, Lev.
It is. Welcome back, Justin.
Thank you, which means Thanksgiving's right around the corner.
Best holiday of the year, for sure. I kind of torn between, like, is it better to have the Territorial Cup on Friday or Saturday? And it's kind of cool to have it on Friday and get it out of the way, and then your Saturday is wide open to watch ball. But then it means you also have to work a lot on Thanksgiving, if that's the case. And this year, with our production schedule, I think we can both, enjoy our Thanksgivings and still get all of our work done. We've got a nice afternoon game on Saturday up in Tempe, 1:30 p.m. kickoff. I think that is absolutely the sweet spot for this game. There have been night games in the past, and then it's like, do you stay overnight, or do you drive home at like 1 a.m, and then you're just kind of all messed up the next day? This is great. We can go to the game, have some dinner, have sort of a normal-ish Saturday evening. And plus, hey, college football from its inception, it was a daytime game. And I know TV rules the world. So you're going to get a lot of night games. And even going to the Big 12, there's still going to be a lot of late games. But it's just something very cool about seeing those teams and those colors under the sun,
And on national television, too.
That's right.
That's the big thing for me. It's like you're kicking off in the middle of the afternoon, but we all thought an afternoon game meant Pac-12 Network. Once again, Arizona going to be on Pac-12 Network. They've been on it 7 times already this season. No, they're ending the regular season on ESPN, national platform. It's a great way to show the rest of the country, hey, yeah, this team that's been ascending and moving up in the rankings and is one of the hottest teams in college football. Arizona wants to show the rest of the world that, hey, we're a legit team. We're a legit contender.
So, okay, everyone complains about the Pac-12 networks. It's not something that we're going to have to complain about very much longer when it comes to football. Here's the thing, more than just, fans being unable to watch it, how about just like media or college football playoff committee getting exposure?
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
How many games have they played on Pac-12 this year?
7.
I mean, they're thriving in relative obscurity. I still don't think they're getting the respect that they deserve.
Yeah.
Like, that spread should have been higher against Utah. The opening spread against ASU is -7.5, and it's now, I think, 11.5.
Yeah.
I was guessing like 17.
Yeah.
And there was some thing that people put up the other day that showed like ESPN's FPI top 25. They weren't even in it. That program needs to be rewritten, by the way, because USC still was. So I don't know. I wouldn't put much stock in FPI. And also, hey, I know that a lot of Arizona fans have some hard feelings toward ESPN because of the Sean Miller situation primarily. But hey, you know what? As you said, this is a great opportunity for the program to get exposure, great platform for them, for recruits. Ask any player or coach or ask their family members if it's a good thing or a bad thing for the game to be on ESPN. They will all say it is a good thing.
You get to show the, like you said, the CFP committee, just national media, what the program is about and how things are trending under Jedd Fisch. Now, there's also the downside of that too, Lev. Other programs around the country are also going to be tuning in. Like,
interesting.
Look at this Arizona team. Look at the job that Jedd Fisch has done, taking a team from 1-11 to 5-7, and now realistically they can finish the season 9-3, and those 3 losses were by a combined 16 points. Seems like everything that this guy touches turns to gold. At least we've seen that in his first stint as a college football head coach. You reported this before the game on Saturday. Michigan State was rumored to have interviewed Jedd Fisch for its head coaching vacancy. Jedd Fisch gave you a one-word response: false.
Yes.
That's it. So it looks like Jedd Fisch is not going to entertain the thought of Michigan State. However, we talked about this in the past. There are jobs that we believe Jedd Fisch would leave Arizona for. like a Florida, maybe even a UCLA or the NFL. And it's that time of year where teams are looking for their next guy, and teams with, should I say, much deeper pockets than the Arizona Wildcats right now.
Yeah, well, let me start with this. Like, I don't completely disbelieve or not believe that Rivals report. Like, Michigan State has probably talked to a lot of people.
Sure.
They're pretty reputable. It wasn't just their local guy either. One of their national reporters kind of had the same thing. So I think it's definitely possible that there was some communication between the two. I also don't really think that Jedd Fisch is interested in that job. Okay, I wrote about this in my last of my 5 takeaways that's up on Tucson.com right now for subscribers. That is not a better job than Arizona. Okay, if you're Michigan State in the Big Ten, right now you are at best number 4 in that league, right? And you kind of always will be behind Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. Now you add Washington, Oregon, and USC to the mix. I know USC is down at the moment, but I think between those two, I'd rather be the USC coach. So you want to be the coach of the 7th best team in your league?
Yeah.
I mean, just sort of stuck in the middle perpetually. Whereas at Arizona, you're going to the Big 12 that's not going to have Texas and Oklahoma anymore. Kind of a wide open league.
Yeah.
Gettable.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, Utah's going over there. Utah's, as long as Kyle Whittingham's there, they're going to be a tough out. I think Colorado will be better next year. I think Dion will pull some tricks here over the next couple months and get some better players on the lines in there. But that is a winnable league.
Yeah.
You mentioned UCLA. This is a place that Jedd has coached before. He recruits heavily in Southern California, so he obviously has an affinity for that part of the country. Is that a better job than Arizona?
Jedd Fisch has been trying to sell people to come to games and sell out Arizona Stadium.
Oh, yeah. Good luck with the Rose Bowl, right?
Exactly.
Great call. And UCLA, they're probably going to finish 8-4 if they beat Cal this week, but they're kind of middle of the pack in the Pac-12 for years and years and years, and the Pac-12 hasn't been that good until this year.
Yeah.
Now they're going to go to the Big Ten. I mean, between UCLA and Michigan State, are about equal, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't see what the upside is with those jobs if you're trying to win conference championships or go to the playoff.
Yeah.
I think you have a clearer path to both of those things if you stay at Arizona. I also think, and kind of know, but I strongly suggest, or I just put this out there. There's going to be another contract extension for Jedd Fisch coming in December. They're going to do right by him here, no matter what these reports are about the financial crisis, yada, yada. I don't think that's going to have any impact on this whatsoever. I think Jedd's going to get a nice raise. He's going to get another extension. He's going to end up in that $5 million a year or so range, and he's going to declare that he'll be back next year for what could be a really, really good Arizona team with a lot of second-year players going into their third year who are prominent. I think you listed many of them in your aftermath piece, but there's a lot more even than you listed, way more.
Yeah, because you're going to be returning your top passer, your top rusher, your top tackler, your top interceptor,
top receiver,
everything. Your defense. How many starters are they going to lose on the defensive side of the ball?
Well,
one with Taylor Upshaw.
Taylor Upshaw, Bill Norton, if he decides not to come back again, Tyler Manoa. So you have to replace some defensive linemen for sure. I'm not sure who we consider the second linebacker starter anymore these days. It's been kind of a revolving door. Irby will not be back. I don't know. Flo has kind of fallen by the wayside here. That's, but they have 3 freshmen that they like.
Yeah.
Kamuela Kaihu, Tay Brown, and Leviticus Sua. So they recruited heavily at that position, knowing that they needed some people. So I think they're fine there. And I think you said the whole secondary stands to be back, right?
Yeah, both safeties, both cornerbacks,
and Traden Stukes.
Yeah.
So it's pretty good. Offensive line, I think they're only losing one guy. Jordan Morgan, big, obviously their best offensive lineman that they've had in decades. But people in the pipeline, they've prepared for this. And Brennan Carroll, assuming he sticks around, has shown that he can develop offensive linemen. So I don't know, man. My conclusion was like, why would Judge Fish leave this job right now? They got a chance to win big.
Yeah.
Next year, there will be more pressure on them, different set of expectations, different opponents that you're not familiar with. But I think on paper they should be a better team than they are this year, and they're probably going to finish 9-3 and go to the Alamo Bowl.
Alamo Bowl, huh?
Yeah,
well, there were representatives in Tucson for the game. It was Alamo Holiday.
Well, if you look at the standings, they can't finish worse than third. Right? At worst case, even if they lose to ASU, they're 6-3. The best that Oregon State can do is 6-3, and they have the head-to-head against them, and no one else has 3 or fewer losses except for Oregon and Washington. So worst case, they're third place. Best case, they make the Pac-12 championship game,
which would be the most Arizona thing to ever happen. You go to the Pac-12 championship, and let's say they win it, and you can't go to the Rose Bowl. You, Arizona.
Yeah, what would happen in that scenario? Because is the Rose Bowl as part of the playoff this year? Oh, just have a supplemental. Let's just have another Rose Bowl game. Haven't they done that in the past? Like, just have 2 of those. I mean, come on. I don't think that's going to happen because I think that Oregon is going to beat Oregon State, and I think Washington's going to beat Washington State. Then again, my picks were so incredibly bad this past week. What do I know? But the Alamo Bowl has the first pick. Basically, they're the top of the food chain after the CFP and the New Year's Six. So I think you're going to San Antonio in December, friendo.
It's like a appetizer for the Big 12. Going out to
Texas. That's a Big 12 affiliated game too. So you're probably going to play someone like Oklahoma.
Ah, damn it! But they're going to the SEC though.
Well, yeah. So the current Big 12 team going to the SEC and the current Pac-12 team going to the Big 12 squaring off against each other.
Love it.
What a world.
But yeah, it was kind of weird being from watching the game from afar, watching it in SoCal, dealing with family priorities. I attended the funeral service of my grandfather, and it was, I don't know, I had major FOMO, like, because the 2 games that, like, I wasn't in person this year. You remember the Wazoo game? They won 44-6, and then on Saturday they won 42-18. I'm like, maybe it's me. Maybe.
So you're saying the 2 games without Justin in attendance, they've outscored the opposition 42 plus 86 to 24.
86 to 24. Maybe that's just.
Hey, you know what? That stuff's all nonsense because I had never covered an Arizona victory over Utah, and that streak was broken this past week. It was the very first time in my time here at the Arizona Daily Star. So,
and what a way they just went out. And I know that Utah was shorthanded, right? Like, they were missing some key guys, including their starting quarterback, Cameron Rising, who's been out all season long. Good point.
Though I said Bryson Barnes was so good in that game. I know he threw 2 picks, but I am telling you, I mean, PFF had Arizona individual defenders with 47 quarterback pressures in that game, which is probably, I haven't looked up game by game, but probably haven't had half that many in any game this year. I mean, they beat the crap out of Bryson Barnes, and he made some incredible throws.
Yeah.
Like the touchdown over Dalton Johnson. I mean, in the rain, under pressure, lobbing it up. Like, he's going to play I'm telling you right now, he's going to somehow make it onto an NFL roster. Somehow.
Be the Matt Castle.
So, like I don't know. Like the
career backup. And then
he's a poor man Stetson Bennett to me. Like, that's what I see. But no,
poor man Stetson Bennett is Cameron Rising because it feels like he's been in college for 20 years.
He can come back next year maybe again. Yeah, that had to be a weird experience for you. And then you're probably like looking at your phone or whatever, and it's like 28 to nothing, one play into the second quarter.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. And also, looking at how Arizona went about it too, the trick play, the pass from T-Mac to Michael Wiley, which I believe T-Mac is the first Arizona player in program history, at least in the was it Stat Pass era, that's recorded a touchdown pass and a touchdown reception in the same game. Can't remember when the last time Arizona had 3 players throw touchdown passes in a game. I feel like it's been a while, or maybe this is the first time that's ever happened. But the trick play you throw a screen to T-Mac, and then T-Mac launches one to a wide-open Michael Wiley. The Montana Lemonius Craig screen pass, down the sideline. The blocked punt, scoop and score return for a touchdown. And then you add in the interceptions, like you said. And going into this game, Lev, we were talking about how Arizona's defense is so dominant and so good, but probably their weakness is not creating takeaways.
They had 2 picks. They had 2 picks the whole season.
And they doubled
They're
it.
both in the. Here's another fun stat: 4 picks for Arizona this year, both in the games that you didn't. They all came in the games that you didn't attend in person.
I didn't realize that.
So they have yet to intercept a pass with Justin Spears in attendance.
But we always ask ourselves, is this the most complete game? Like when we talked about the Oregon State
I would
game.
say it's Washington State.
Washington State?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you just dropped in on this game, and we talked about this a little bit offline, and just looked at the stats.
Time of possession.
The time of possession. Utah dominated. Total yards, about equal.
Yeah.
But that's because it was such a weird game. Like they were out in front by so much, and Utah was just kind of still going to do Utah things, so they ended up with like 90 plays. But, beyond the total yards, you need to look at the yards per play, right, in this particular game. And that was the big difference. So Arizona averaged 7.8 yards per play, and Utah only 4.9. So even though the total yards were about the same, 443 to 438, that was a big difference. 90 plays for Utah to 57. The third down numbers in this game are crazy. 11 for 21 for the Utes, and 2 for 4 on fourth down. Meanwhile, Arizona, as you pointed out, 7 for 11 against the best third down defense in the country.
Pretty damn good, huh?
Pretty dang good. Yeah, pretty dang good.
So Arizona now moves to 8-3 on the season. It's the first time they've had 6 or more wins in a conference slate since 2014. Other years that Arizona has done that includes 2009, 1998, 1994, and 1993. So this year's Arizona team is in pretty good company. And again, I can't emphasize it enough. They're 8-3 and they're 16 points away from being in the CFP conversation, which is pretty remarkable when you think about how this team struggled to win a game to end their 20-game losing streak just a couple of years ago. And that's why we say for Arizona fans, the job that Jed Fish has done at Arizona, man, imagine at a place where he's got unlimited resources and money and NIL opportunities.
And that place eventually could be Florida.
Yeah.
That's his alma mater. That's where he got his starting coaching. That is a deep-pocketed SEC program where you can win.
Yeah.
If I were him and I was thinking about my career in that way, I would hold out for that job, which
hold out for the dream job, man.
Could come open soon, could come open in 5 years, 10 years. You're still relatively young. He's in his, 40? I think he's 47 years old.
Yeah.
Plenty of time left in this business. So, to me, if I'm him, that's the only job I would leave for.
Absolutely, man. So Arizona moving to 8-3. Territorial Cup week is officially upon us. We'll be back in a couple of days to look ahead to that game. Should be a wild one in Tempe.
I got to make some better picks, man. I'm doing some reassessing here. The Lev compound. Yeah, I got to rethink things. I thought I had it all figured out, and then I did not. You want to jump into the mailbag?
Let's get to the mailbag.
Okay,
Lev,
I got one. I got one to start here from John Viator. Podcast question. This was a great weekend of Pac-12 football. It really hit home for me watching the second half of the USC-UCLA game that this is it for the Pac-12. I feel like a childhood friend is dying. Is there one thing about the Big 12 that makes you more excited than sad? When this first happened, I wrote a 12 things to be excited about going to the Big 12 piece. And I think one of the things is that there's a lot of potential for new rivalries to be born.
I think one was established on Saturday.
Which was?
Arizona-Utah. Throwing out Jaden Delora and throwing out a deep pass to T-Mac.
Great call. Great call. Yes. I was thinking more of teams that they haven't played regularly, like Kansas in men's basketball and football, because Kansas has kind of had a similar turnaround. I don't know if Lance Leipold is going to stay at Kansas or if some bigger program is going to lure him away, but that is a great potential rivalry there. Texas Tech goes way back with Arizona geographically. That's kind of a big rivalry. You just kind of drive across New Mexico and boom, you're there. And I think that in other sports, there's a lot of upside for softball, for women's basketball. I think the Big 12, kind of like I talked about earlier with football, I think it's gettable.
Yeah.
Much more so than the current situation, right? The Pac-12 is so loaded in those two sports that even if you're good, like you're finishing 7th or 8th sometimes.
Ask me how many teams besides Oklahoma and Texas have won the national championship in softball. 0 from the Big 12.
Yeah.
That's it. It's those two teams, and everyone else is just eh.
I was talking to Brett Gleason, one of the media relations managers over there at the U of A. He does baseball as well as football. And great trivia question: who in the Big 12, once Oklahoma and Texas leave, has won a football national championship? And we think it's only one school, and it's not one that you would think of. And it's not a current member of the Big 12. Colorado.
Okay.
Yeah, Colorado won a national championship.
Was that
back in 1990?
With Bieniemy? Eric Bieniemy?
I'm not sure if he was
or
on that
Rashawn
team.
Salam?
I'm not sure if he was on that team.
Okay.
But, yeah. So I think those are some things to get excited about. I think the media situation is something to get excited about. The worst case scenario for any given Arizona broadcast is going to be ESPN Plus. And ESPN Plus is available pretty much to anyone who has cable or a satellite subscription, and it looks like ESPN is also going to have a direct-to-consumer product coming out here in 2025 or 2026. So if you want to pay for it, you can get it.
Yeah.
You can get every single Arizona game, and a lot of the baseball games and softball games and women's basketball games are also going to air on ESPN Plus. Soccer games, it's pretty robust, and I think that most people will appreciate that outlet over the Pac-12 networks.
Yeah, and everyone's got ESPN Plus nowadays. I keep hearing people talking about, I got to get ESPN Plus. It's not that expensive. And, you get so many great broadcasts and a lot of great options and shows.
I have the bundle with Disney Plus and Hulu, and we watch a ton of shows on Hulu. So there's some great stuff there, and it's a really good deal. Look, now it's easy for me to say, maybe people, they're struggling to make ends meet. I mean, we are too, and this stuff all adds up. You're getting this streaming service and that streaming service, but in terms of easy access, ESPN Plus is an upgrade over the Pac-12 networks, which, by the way, do a great job from a production standpoint. They have really good announcers. They have good analysts. They really care. It's just that for a certain segment of the population, it's been really hard to see those games.
Mm-hmm. Got any more?
Okay, so this one here is also from John Viator, and we're going to have to ask Jed about it. But several people have brought this up to me. President Robbins was on TV approaching Coach Fish in the first quarter in a very animated way. I love that Robbins is a sports fan, but isn't that a little unusual? What was said? What do you think was said in that conversation between President Robbins and Coach Fish there, Justin?
I have a blank check, and you just need to sign it so you can continue to run our program. That's my Bobby Robbins impression. Maybe something along those lines of we're going to lock you in, Jed.
We want you here.
Yes.
You're not going anywhere. You're doing awesome.
We're going to build you a statue right next to the salmon statue, and it's going to be salmon and fish side by side as the faces of Arizona football. Yeah. I think Bobby Robbins understands. I mean, he's a very sports savvy guy. He is all over the place.
He grew up in Mississippi.
He understands football.
Archie Manning was his hero. He worked in Texas. Like, we've kind of called him the Jerry Jones of this operation. Like, he loves sports, okay?
Yeah.
And I know that he said what he said about maybe we have to cut sports and athletics is a problem and blah, blah, blah. I think he was just kind of putting everything out there.
Yeah.
Putting everything on the table. I don't think sports is going to be greatly impacted. And like I said earlier, I think they're going to do right by Jedd Fisch. What do you got?
Okay. Well, this one comes from Jordan Kuda, hope I'm pronouncing that right. Jordan asks, when is Coach Fisch getting his extension?
Like, he's already gotten one. Okay, people need to remember this. All right, he got one last year for 2 years, and it was originally reported. This is interesting, Justin. It was originally reported, or they reported it as the total package being 5 years and $16.3 million. We obtained some numbers that show that it was actually 5 years and $18.3 million in compensation, about $400,000 a year more than was initially reported. So they've already done one extension, and I think based on this year's success, they're going to do another one. And I think it's going to come out in December. That's kind of the time that these things are done. And it will, to a degree anyway, put to rest the rumors of Jedd going elsewhere.
But then you got to keep those assistants. Like, I'm fully expecting Arizona to lose at least one assistant this year. Just because there's other opportunities that get you more money, whether it's in the NFL or whether it's, someplace else. Arizona has a lot of great assistant coaches that have done such a good job of helping build up the program and developing talent. Guys like Kevin Cummings, the wide receivers coach. I mean, what that unit has done has been impressive. Now, the one guy that I feel like he's going to stick with Jedd no matter what is Scotty Graham. This guy loves Arizona, and he loves coaching Arizona's running backs. Like, he's one assistant coach that I feel very confident he ain't going anywhere anytime soon. But yeah, those other assistant coaches.
Yeah, I mean, does Brendan Carroll want to be a head coach? And if so, does the San Diego State job appeal to him?
Yeah.
Does Jimmy Doherty want to be a head coach? If so, does the San Diego State job appeal to him? Will somebody
Isn't Boise State looking for a coach?
Well, Boise State is looking for a coach. Will somebody who needs a upgraded defensive coordinator look at Johnny Nansen? Mm-hmm. Be like, man, look what he did at Arizona. Bring this over here. How much better would USC have been this season if they had Johnny Nansen as their defensive coordinator?
I got Brad Malone.
Yeah.
Bear Down Bias asking first.
Bear Down Bias.
Bear Down Bias.
That's good stuff.
Brad says, first, props to Fisch. I doubted the hire. Boy, was I wrong. I didn't doubt the hire. I doubted the way they went about it because they hired like a search firm that was like 6 figures. And I'm like, but this guy was interviewed during the first coaching search. I feel like you just didn't need to waste the money on the search firm to find Jedd Fisch because Jedd Fisch has always been interested in this job. But a lot of Arizona fans feel the same way, like Brad. They saw Jedd Fisch when he was first hired and like the quarterback's coach from the Patriots. But it's not like the quarterback. It's not like he coached Tom Brady. He coached Cam Newton. He,
by the way, I don't know if you saw that tweet of mine, but he said Cam Newton was the hardest working player he's ever been around. How about that?
That's okay. Interesting.
I think people sort of don't view Cam Newton in that way. I don't know, just because of the way he dressed and kind of acted too much sometimes. Fun. Yeah.
Like, but you can't have fun and work hard at the same time.
I went back and reread the story I wrote, I think it was like maybe in early January, where I interviewed some fans and I quoted a bunch of like the tweets of angry people. And I think our collective reaction to Jedd was out of ignorance. Like, we just didn't know him.
Yeah.
And we were kind of led in a direction. Remember Dave Hickey had a Zoom where he talked about like the characteristics they were looking for and this and that. And it really sounded like he wanted someone who was here before in some capacity. And Jedd Fisch was kind of an outsider.
Yeah.
And yeah, we were all wrong.
Everyone.
Yep.
Brad also says, before there was rain, there were patches of empty seats in the upper deck. Do you guys have any info on what was up with that situation? And he also made sure to let us know for Arizona to beat the Scummies. Chuck Cecil would sign off on that.
I don't have hard reporting on that. But I will say this: like at some point in the week, I was looking for a ticket for my son, who was going to go with his friends to the game. They had already bought tickets. My son didn't end up going. But I looked on just ArizonaWildcats.com, and like almost the entire upper deck was sold out. I'm like, this is weird. And then one of his friend's dads, his friend's dad told me, oh, we got our seats through Vivid Seats. So I think people sometimes forget that the secondary market is a thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes people, investors just buy tickets for the sake of buying tickets, and they have no intention of going. They just want to sell them. There was also El Tour de Tucson going on at the same time. It was also rainy that day. So I think those are some of the factors that might have led to some empty seats up top.
Kyle Morris asked, will ASU fans ever shut up about 70-7? Well, I mean, they kind of have to now because they lost last year. But that to me is like the ultimate. Like,
you know how you get them to shut up? You beat them like 70-7.
And there were a few seniors like Jordan Morgan and Michael Wiley and Kyle Ostendorp and all these other guys who were part of that game. Traden Stukes.
Yep.
I'll never forget was getting in the game, and all of a sudden I discovered who Traden Stukes was in that game. I had no idea he was on the team.
None of us had any idea. We're like, what is going on here? Who is this guy? Now he's, by the way, I think he's their highest rated defensive player on PFF this year. Remember what Don Brown said about Traden Stukes?
Dude.
He's a dude.
He's a dude.
He's a dude.
Yeah, I think Arizona too also understands that there's a lot at stake here, right? I understand that you've already made a bowl game, but the fact that you have something bigger than just a bowl game, like you can actually compete for a Pac-12 championship.
They'll know.
Maybe.
I mean, they'll know because the game's Friday.
Yeah,
right. You will know. And I don't think he'll have any trouble motivating them one way or the other.
No,
it's Arizona State. It's the last game for Jordan Morgan and Michael Wiley and a lot of those guys. You want to go out with a bang.
Mm-hmm. But anyways, real quick, Lev.
I got a few more. So
let's do it.
All right. TR Burns 826 says, say UA wins its last two and finishes 9-3. I'd expect OSU, which I think is Oklahoma State. It could be Ohio State, Iowa, and probably Louisville to lose another game. Any chance the bowl committees would consider UA for a potential Fiesta Bowl or NY6 Bowl? I think possible, but a lot of things would have to happen. This is a weird year because a lot of the top teams just haven't lost at all.
Yeah.
Or maybe they've lost one game. So they're going to end up with 2 losses, and Arizona is going to be at best 3 losses. So I don't think so, but I wouldn't rule it out 100%. AZ Cat John asked, this is specifically for me, are you obligated to rank the Final Four CFP teams 1 to 4, or could you elevate an undefeated team at number 5 into the top 4 in your final ballot? This is for the AP. We can do whatever we want. We have no tie-ins with the CFP. No obligations. Cat Backer at Zona 7378. Without an injury to Fifita, has JDL taken his last snap as a Wildcat, or will Fish give him mop-up duty against ASU or the bowl game? Well, I think we already have our answer to that. He went into the game against Utah, which was a blowout. And I don't know if you caught this, Justin, but the first pass that Jaden Delora threw was to Roberto Miranda on a bubble screen. The first and probably and maybe last reception of Roberto Miranda's U of A career. Very cool for Fish to arrange that. And then, of course, after Utah went down and scored, went for 2, tried for an onside kick, so they're still playing, Jed's like, we're throwing deep. Mm-hmm. And he wanted to get JDL. He wanted to get JDL a touchdown, and he did. I don't mind it. Doesn't bother me.
No. And let's be real, like Utah ain't saints in this whole situation either. They've had their moments of running up the score. Heck, they beat ASU 55-3.
If you weren't still playing, they could have taken knees, or they could have not gone for 2, or they could have not done an onside kick. If they kicked deep, the ball would have been at the 25-yard line. It wouldn't have been at the 50. Here's one for you, Justin, from Marcelo Martinez. How many recruits in this class are expected? What is the scholarship situation? How many are available?
That's tough because
there's no limit on it anymore. Yeah. They have, how many do they have already? Like they're in the 20s.
About 20,
at the moment, right?
22, I want to say. They actually just picked up a commit for 2025. Dash Barely from Temecula, California. Good dirt out there, according to Bill Walton. But yeah, Dash Barely is a 6'1", 205-pound dual threat quarterback. He's got nearly 6,000 all-purpose yards. Really good quarterback prospect for the 2025 recruiting class. And he's the next high school quarterback that's going to join the pipeline, excluding Jaden Delora. If you look at Arizona's quarterback additions, you got Noah Fafita, who's QB1, at least for the next however long he wants to stay here at Arizona. And then you also have the Colorado Gatorade Player of the Year in Braden Dorman, who's completely not like Noah Fafita. He's a big guy. He's almost like a Brock Osweiler type of player, or Grant Gunnell for you Arizona football fans. And then they have Damon Williams for 2024, who's more like Noah Fafita, and he's got crazy athleticism and is a really good player. He's the top in-state offensive player in the 2024 recruiting class. So that's the quarterbacks that they have. And then that Dash Barely guy, who's, what I've seen, looks like he's a pretty good prospect. So those are the quarterbacks, but Dash is for 2025. Regarding 2024,
they've got 22
yeah,
at the moment. I would expect them to add a few at the end. Jed always seems to pull off a handful. Obviously, they lost those two defensive ends from South Point.
Yeah.
So I think, maybe that's a position where they would look to add somebody. And I would say that it depends on how many guys they end up losing, how many guys leave through the portal, etc. There is no cap on how many initials you can bring in. But I'm gonna guess that they're going to end up in the mid-20s for recruits and probably 10 or so transfers coming in. Yeah. Something like that. I mean, that's probably about the norm.
And I'm wondering what those transfers look like, because year one, or going into year one from year zero, you got Jacob Cowing and Jaden Delora and all these offensive players. Year three, or you going into year two, you got defensive guys. You got Justin Flo and all those defensive linemen. I'm wondering.
I'd say more defensive linemen.
Okay.
I mean, because they're going to lose. If Norton doesn't come back, you're losing 3 of your 4 starters.
That's true.
Up there. And look, they have guys, right? I mean, they have young guys that they've been bringing up through the pipeline. But I think, as they've shown this year, you can never have too many good defensive linemen. And they have been rotating those guys through, and it has been hugely beneficial for them to have that finally this year. Kevin Sumlin did not have a great tenure here, and as we all know, but one of the smart things he always said was, like, the closer you get to the ball, like, the more you want to have, like, older, like, physically mature players, right? That's why he brought in Josh Donovan and Peyton Fierce, to supplement the offensive line from the junior college ranks. So to me, big defensive linemen.
Yep.
A couple big defensive tackles would be a nice add through the portal. And then it's just sort of, filling in spots here and there.
Is the portal going to kill JUCO, like junior college football? Because I was thinking about it, because like JUCO, like weightlifting programs obviously aren't as advanced.
Yeah, it's not great.
So you, like, rather than going out and getting, if you want to get the mature veteran players, you're like, shoot, I don't have to go look at junior college guys. I can just go to the transfer portal.
It's hurt junior colleges and high school recruiting.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some coaches who are like, why should I bother with these high school kids? Who knows if they're going to be good when I can get guys that I already know are good?
Yeah.
Who are established. But Jed he understands that this is a developmental program here, and he's all about, like, hey, we're going to put in a culture where these guys aren't going to want to leave, and we're going to develop players over the course of time. What's amazing is that he's won in year 3.
Yep.
I mean, this was not supposed to happen this fast.
Real quick, Lev.
Yeah.
I know we got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Yavapai Duke.
Oh, one of my, very frequent followers, yes.
What makes Thanksgiving special for you / our Wildcats? Well, what makes Thanksgiving special for me is I get to wake up every single morning on Thanksgiving and watch the Cowboys lose. It's one of my favorite Thanksgiving traditions. No, Cowboys are good defense this year, man. They've been very dominant.
Lions too. Lions are good.
Yeah,
for the first time in like forever.
Normally, those are two losers on Thanksgiving, but now, hey, they might win a dominant fashion.
They said they're 8-2 for the first time in like 60 years. The Lions.
That's crazy.
Which is crazy. Well, for me personally, hey, having a cool job. Still, with the way our industry is, I'm grateful every day for that. And hey, I'm grateful that we have a fun and interesting football team to cover.
Yeah.
Like, how many times have we been in this podcast studio where we're sitting now just talking about how terrible they are, trying to break the winning streak? How can they break through? How can they ever get any good players? Blah, blah, blah. It's way more fun to cover a winning team, isn't it?
Absolutely. And the storylines are just easier to find now. There are so many great stories with this Arizona football team. And when you couple that with other programs at the U of A that are thriving, like the U of A men's basketball program and other schools, it's a really fun time to be a fan of the U of A. But going back to just Thanksgiving itself, I just love the fact that there's not really any religious obligation for this holiday. A lot of holidays there's religion surrounded by it. This one, it's you get with your family / friends, you enjoy some great food, and then you watch some football, and then you take a nap on the couch.
It's the best.
It's a great holiday, man.
All my favorite things coming together:
food, family,
and football.
Yep, it's great. All right, well, that'll do it for this episode of the Wildcast. We'll be back later on in the week. Maybe we'll talk to Brett about our favorite Thanksgiving dishes.
Yeah.
Which would be some good stuff there.
Yes, and again, Pac-12 picks, this will be the last time that we do them, so get ready. I'm already doing research over here. Man. In-depth research to make sure that you end the season with a bang. So bad last
I just hope I don't finish it last.
Oh, man.
That's all I'm asking for. All right, subscribe, rate, and comment the Wildcast wherever you get your podcasts, and also for all coverage of Arizona football, men's basketball, big one this week at Michigan State on Thanksgiving Day. Women's basketball, they're in the Bahamas wrapping things up. For all that, go to Tucson.com and the Wildcaster app.